Hi guys, how's it going? So in this video we'll continue to build our application. In the last video we managed to expand the functionality to be able to add some tasks. For example, in one of these projects, so these are the projects. This project doesn't have any tasks right now, but this one has 8 tasks. So let's go inside, and we have some gibberish here which we added really quickly. Now the most important thing is, for example, in this video we'll be creating this edit button. We created these buttons in the last video, but we didn't add the functionality. When we click them, nothing happens. So we would like to make sure we are able to change this gibberish back to something useful, some meaningful task. So let's open up our application in the editor. And here let's go to the resources, views, and then pages and projects. Now in the project show method, show blade view is where we have all the details of a particular project. So when we click on a project, it gives us the view. So I clicked on this project. For example, I go to the projects and I click on this project. It will give me all the details of this project, which is this take fitness lessons is the description and all the tasks. Now in here, if you go down, you'll notice there is this edit button. This is the button in this li that is going to post to task controller edit method with the task slug, and we're going to be presenting some of the information here. Now we left this information untouched in the last video because we haven't created these files, so it'll give error. So let's start editing them. So we're going to be submitting this to task controller, and at edit method we'll pass in the task slug, and also what we need here is a project slug as well, or not really, we don't need that. Yeah, we do need that actually. So basically when you post the new data, for example, when the edit button is clicked, it's going to capture the project slug from here because you're already inside the project. You don't need to specify, the JavaScript that will run the ajax request to prefetch the existing gibberish, existing row of the task will need this project instance, as well as it will need this project slug, task slug, sorry. So it's going to check if the URL has the project slug. It's going to take it from there. I'll show you. So let's open up the all.js. In all.js we will find edit model window. Now here, if you go down, we're using a class called edit. So when this class, any element with this class, for example, of course it's going to be a button. So when a button with edit is clicked, which is in this case is going to be this, and previously in the projects was also this button. So when we click this button, it's going to take the CSRF token and store in a variable for the ajax request. It's going to also capture the form URL, and then it's going to look for project slug if there is any in a hidden value, input value. It's going to look for task slug and subtask slug. Then it's going to look for the URL. If window.location.path name, after the host is the path name. So this is basically the host, to app 2016.app1000. That's the host, and that's the path name. The path name keeps changing as we drill deeper into our application. So based on that path name, it's going to, if the path name is project, it's just going to run this bit and going to pass in the project slug, and then this function, if it returns successfully, it's going to run this function, and that function is described in the later part of the script. I'll show you in a minute. But if the location of the URL is project/project slug, which means you're inside the project slug, so that means you're passing in task slug as well, because you're editing the task. You understand what I mean? And then you're going to run a process response task because you're returning a response that contains that row of the task. So you're going to have to pre-fill the model window with this information. I'm gonna show you this function in a second, and then you'll understand better. So basically, depending on the URL, how deep you are inside, if you're inside project or task or subtask, it's going to run different ajax requests. And these are the functions. If you are just in a project and you're editing a project, it's going to run this response where it's going to loop over the response that's coming from the ajax request. It's going to loop over and it's going to fill in this the model window has a form. It's going to pre-fill all the input fields. Form.find name, input name is equal to this, value is equal to this. But if it is tasks, it's going to do this one. If it is subtasks, it's going to do this one. You can go ahead and look into this script and it'll give you more idea. Of course, there's more than one way of doing the same thing. Some ways are better than the others, but of course they require more time, more debugging. I chose the simplest way and the most easiest, which I was comfortable with. You can choose something else. In the end, we all meet at the same place. Now, so when we click this button, before that, we need to create a new file here called tasks. Why tasks? Why not projects? Because if you look into partials, forms, edit, partials, forms, edit, and projects, it has only one field, the project slug. But here we have another task, edit tasks. It has project slug named as project slug, and also it has task slug named as task slug. And in the subtasks, it has project slug, task slug, as well as subtask slug. So that's the key. We need to provide the hidden values of the currently displayed slugs. So if you go here, if you right click, you can see, if you view source, you'll be able to see that this is the hidden project slug, and this is the task. So that's the task name. Yeah, so we need to specify the project slug here. Right now we see project slug because I always have this problem with Sublime Text. I haven't saved this file, so we made a change here to include edit.task, but I haven't saved this file. Once I save it and then we go back and refresh, now you'll notice there is a task slug with a value of this, which is this one. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. Yes, I keep forgetting some of us are watching these videos on mobile, so I gotta use a higher resolution or lower resolution probably. Sorry. So yeah, so this is task slug with this value, and this is project slug with this value, and like so, it helps us. Now we have the form that submits to task controller edit method, which we haven't looked into yet, but we will look into in a minute. So we will be giving it both the options, and the options are going to be we'll be giving it both the instances, which is project slug and task slug, and then we will be also giving it the hidden values in our edit task. So edit tasks, we have already created that in the previous video. If you haven't, just create it really quickly. You can go ahead and use the projects.blade and just save it as task.blade and just add another input field, hidden value task slug, and name should be exactly same, otherwise the script can't get hold of it. In the script I'm using the input name task slug. Make sure to use it the same, or change the script, whichever way works. And make sure to use this class edit, because that's what's going to fire the script. That's the selector in jQuery. Now that's your file in edit tasks, which is going to be providing the hidden inputs of those slug values, and we're going to be passing in along to this this controller method. So that's going to query the. So we're going to be passing in these values to the edit method, which is essentially going to run a query in the database and send us back an ajax response, because this is all ajax. And then if you go back to all.js and then find edit model window. Now what it does, the edit button gets fired, collects all the slug values from the hidden values, then it looks for the URL. If the URL is projects, it's going to just pass in the project slug, not everything else. It's just smart, you know. And then if it is projects inside the project slug, means you're editing a task, it's going to send a task slug as well as project slug, and it's going to, if it is successful, it can find the instance, it's going to run this function. Now what this function is, we have to look into. Now this function, process response tasks, essentially this function is nothing but it's going to look for this model window with this selector, and then it's going to find the form, and that form, I mean it's parent form, and then it's going to find the action, which is the URL. We're going to store it in a URL. It's going to look for this variable in the response. The response, we're passing in the response that comes from the ajax, and based upon that response has a lot of values. It has a project slug, it has task slug, which we already passed in, but we're storing in the response centrally, so it's one variable for everything. And then based upon, we're going to be creating a new URL, which is going to be appending this, prepending this with the host and the project slug. We're going to create a new URL, because if you look at the URL of the form, let's go back for a second. So the model window, let's go to the source and come down. Now we have provided our model windows somewhere here, haven't we? Yes. So for example, this is a URL for creating, for example, this is a URL for creating a task, and then we don't have, if we go to, how can I explain to you? I'm trying to think of a better way. Now here we have here, let's just say let's remove this one. We put this one last time because we didn't have any tasks, and we don't want to, we couldn't display a model window because of no tasks. It was giving us error. And this was projects, so pages, projects, models, edit, projects. I changed it to tasks. Make sure to change it to tasks, and in the pages, projects, models, edit, there is no tasks. So we're going to create one file here. So essentially this file, right now it's not being displayed, but essentially this file is going to display, and that is the file that will have that is going to submit the updated values. The model window is going to submit updated values, but the URL to which it submits the values is going to be different. It's going to be different for tasks / each task. The project could be different, task could be different, so we're gonna have to recreate this URL every time. So essentially in your JavaScript file, I've already done the hard work of updating the URL based upon the host and based upon the I'm appending projects, the key. If you have used the same key, then no problem, This key is hard-coded, unfortunately, and this is the key coming from routes.php. If you look at here, we have created projects key, tasks key, subtasks key. If there's a problem with this key, if the naming is not correct, the script won't work. The ajax function won't work properly. So you may have to run just the normal HTTP request, the PHP web server based. So here I've used projects key because we defined the same in the routes and the task key. So it's going to append this URL of the model window so it can update the data to the respective task or the project and stuff like that. This is just a simple script. You can go over and maybe if you read a couple of times, it'll all make sense. Anyway, so make sure to change this project to tasks, and the moment you do that and come back here, it's going to throw an error because the file doesn't exist. Then again, I haven't saved it. Save it, go back, refresh, and error, because we don't have basically there is some problem, there's some other problem. Array to string conversion. The array to string conversion is probably this one. So basically we can't use another array. I opened up another array. We don't need to do that. Just use the controller and pass in the slug directly. Save it, go back. It should give us error about the file not found. So this file is not found, and that's obviously our next step. So we're going to just open this file in the models edit. So pages, projects, models, edit, and then projects, and just save it as task. Now here we have the tasks file, and we're going to call it tasks, the ID. Although we are not really making use of this ID, make sure to use edit t and then tasks and edit model window. We're using the class to fire the model window. We are not using the ID, so it won't create a problem. And the next thing we want to do is basically update a couple of things here. So we're going to be binding the model, but this time we'll be binding in the task model, and we'll be using patch method because we are updating task data. The project still remains the same because we are inside the project. We don't need to bind that model. And then we're going to be calling task controller update method and just pass in the task ID. That's going to get the instance for us, or slug. And the next thing we want to do is just call it edit task, or uppercase, I don't care, not much problem. Just for the demonstration purpose, for the JavaScript demonstration purpose, I'm gonna create another field here which we can suppress later on, and I'm gonna call it form URL with an ID of form URL, because if you go to all.js and then you look for process response here, and then you go here where we have the response for the tasks, and somewhere I have tried to debug it. So here form.find with the ID of form-URL, and I'm gonna write this new URL every time I edit a task. So I didn't have this in place, but let's just write it down, make use of it, and we'll get rid of it in a minute. The next thing we want to do is we want to use that projects forms edit project. So here projects forms edit project, it has I created a new file called task, which probably you don't have. Just use the project file and then save as task. All I changed is, instead of project, I changed it to task, task, and task, nothing else. So I like to be very specific with the placeholders, makes it look nice. Because if you're editing task and it says project and enter the project name, it doesn't look good. Unless you say enter the name, enter the description, then it's generic. It's generic for everything, you know. But usually maybe task may have more number of fields, so it's better to create a new file where you can add more number of fields. In our project, the number of fields are same in project, task, and subtasks. So even the request is same. The task request is no different from project request. They're all same. The data required is all same, the validation. But just in case, you need to know, just in case if you run into a project where you have different number of fields, create a new file. Keep the structure nice and organized. So it could look like duplication of data, but then again, you have to sometimes duplicate. You can't always escape dry. You can't always follow dry. Don't repeat yourself. Sometimes you got to do that. Just because there is one extra field, you got to do that. Now, in order to abstract that whole thing, I can abstract the common fields. I'm gonna have to write a new class and a whole level of complexity. Why would I do that? Sometimes you gotta do a hack. Just write another field, copy paste everything else. That's okay. It saves me a lot of time. I can spend that time doing something more useful rather than fixing. Anyway, so we're going to use this URL for debugging. We're going to use here edit task. So make sure this is not tasks, it's task. That's the name of the file, task. And then the next thing we're going to do is use this class. Everything else remains same. We're going to use this class submit button to submit our data. So in our all.js, if you go here, submit button. So when submit button is clicked, it's going to find all the data. If the method is patch, if it is not patched, that means it's post method detected. Then it's just gonna post the data. If it's patch, then it's going to run this part of the script, which is basically going to edit, the data, which is just so easy. Never mind. It's very easy. Nothing special going on here. Except that I just noticed something. There could be a slight problem because that edit method is firing. It's only updating the project here. So it's only updating the project slug. So it works for the projects, but not for the tasks. As you can see, it's running a patch method, but it's only that's fine because when you run update method, you're running on a task. You're running. You don't need project instance. So maybe we can just copy and paste and we can run some kind of check with the URL. I'll leave that to you guys because I have a feeling it won't work. Anyway, it won't work straight away. You may have to add a few lines of code in JavaScript for the ajax. So that's going to be the submit button, and then of course everything else remains same. Save it and cut it and cut it. Now we're going to open our task controller. In task controller, we're going to find the edit method, and this is where we're going to be running we'll be doing most of our work. We're going to pass in the project instance in a project variable, and we're going to pass in a task instance and task variable, because that's how we are passing in these two instances from the view to the controller. We're passing in the variables, so it's going to run based upon that slug we have provided. It's going to pass in dynamically. The model is going to pass in the instance in this variable, and once you have the instances, you will also need the request. As a request variable. So now you have the request and the instances we're going to run here if statement, if request is ajax, then I want you to do this, else do this. Well, if the request is not ajax, I want you to run a query for this project, give me all the tasks, and then I want you to order by created at, which is created at, and then get them all. And then I want you to return. So basically we don't do anything, we just get the tasks again, and we just go back to, so a user will feel like something happened, but nothing really happens. We just go back to pages. So we just take the user back to the project's home, and here we're going to pass in the task, we're going to pass in the project, and we're going to pass in the task model as this particular instance we're going to pass in. That's fine. Now here we can build our response. Basically we have an ajax request coming and response. So we're sending a response variable, typing sometimes takes longer, and here we're going to give an ID, which is going to be project ID, ID of the project, and the project slug, which is also going to be the project slug, and also we're going to be giving task slug, and we're going to be giving name. The name is going to be task name, because we are only talking about task here. It's a task controller. And description, and then in the end we can say the due date. And like so. And then we just return the response, sorry, it's uppercase, and JSON, and let's pass in this array variable. So make sure all these classes are imported, because Sublime Text has a plugin you can use which will import automatically fully qualified class names. Well, how it's able to do that is it basically creates a database file here, oracle.sqlite, which is not Oracle, it's a SQLite, but name is Oracle, where it stores all the class names in a format that, you know, it's not easily readable. Let me see if it opens up for you. Anyway, it compiles and everything and does that for you. So I think it's called PHP Companion. I can't remember. If you want, in one of my other videos, I tried to share with you guys, and if you want to know more about that, just drop in some comments and I'll show you. I think it was in the last video. But anyway, so let's see if this works, because I have a feeling it won't. Why it won't work? Because if you go here, in the submit button is clicked if the method is patch. That's what we are concerned about. This is the post method. But if the method is patch, because patch method means it's an edit method. Sorry, it's an update method. So it's going to find the project slug, and I suppose it should work. Let's have a look. So I'm going to refresh it. That's going to give me the view, and let's run edit. And ajax request failed. No shit. inspect. So it says method not allowed because we haven't updated our routes file. This method is not allowed. I'm worried I may click somewhere and that may change the file. Just close it. So let's open up our routes file. In the route file, we somewhere here we have an edit method because of this binding, because of this, we have to create another. The edit method currently, the resourceful route, the key is this tasks. If you run PHP artisan route list, you'll see that the edit method is listening at /routes, which means you have to change it. You're gonna have to change the URL, the path where it's listening to. So how shall we do that? Well, let's just add a couple of lines here and just make a copy, keep them together. And here we're going to add a new key, tasks / here I'm going to say tasks, and here I can say task controller, because the reason is we are registering this key. It's listening edit method / tasks, and it's listening at tasks / edit, but that's not what we want. We want project / project ID, then task / task ID, and that's what it's going to do. So by doing project / projects and then task / task and edit, it's going to listen properly. Because when we try to run this ajax request, the JavaScript is picking up the project slug. It's building a new URL, and then that URL is not registered right now. Let's see what happens now. And it says 404 not found, looks like, because we haven't refreshed yet, did it? I don't think so. Show me again. What's the problem now? The resource not found. So when I try to do that, let's go here. And here it's trying to send to this project slug task slug / edit. It's not found, but it's picking up the correct URL. Let's go back to the application for a second. So tasks and then tasks / edit, task controller edit. It's not a post request, it's a post request, that's correct. Why is it not listening? It should listen. It should listen. I have saved the file, and I have saved here too. So basically we have a problem, and I can't understand why would it do, except for a reason that project tasks. Let's just open up the terminal here really quickly, and I'm just gonna so that's a problem, another problem because of another package. I know this problem. That's another thing I have to fix. That's fine. So basically we have, give me a second, let's see what's going on here, because this is correct. We are inside, we are overriding this this path. That seems correct. There's nothing wrong with it. The only thing is that if you go to task controller, it has edit method, project, task request, everything seems okay. But it says 404, which is not found, which is not good. It should find itself. So if I click this, let's go here. The URL is absolutely correct. It's picking up the fitness lessons, which is this, and it's appending tasks, then it's appending the task slug and /edit, which is perfect. There's nothing wrong with that. So the only thing is, if the routes.php I think the nesting is proper here, nesting, because we have, this is task, this is projects, that's correct, and here projects dot. So what happened was, we have made a slight mistake, I think, here, that I think what we need to do here is, instead of binding this project.task, we just need to bind tasks. That's what we need to do. For a second, I'm just going to change it, and then I'm going to come back to the browser, refresh, and see what happens. Now we have a different response, which is 500, which is server error, failed to load resource. Server responded with a status of 500. I guess you're gonna have to give me a minute, because this is a part of the debugging I'm gonna have to do, and I'm gonna spend some time and come back to you guys when it's ready. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm back again, and here is the problem. The problem is, in our task controller, if you're using PHP Storm, you may not have this problem, but in Sublime Text, this plugin I'm using to automatically import the class, fully qualified class names, is actually a little bit buggy. You know, it doesn't work automatically. So I'm passing in the instance, and I want the Laravel to use this dependency where there is a model I want it to use. I'm type hinting the model and the request, but it hasn't imported on the top. So the response 500 basically means that there is no response. We're getting ajax error 500 means there's no response from the server, which means why this happens, because it's not able to find out which class to use to query these instances. So I imported use app task and request. If you have already imported these ones, these three are the important ones, then you should have no problem, and save the file. There's nothing else wrong, everything is fine. We created this key binding for the edit method, and that was fine. And also we removed the binding. If you don't want to remove, that won't be a problem. But anyway, when I run an edit method now, it's going to fire the edit model window, which we have created previously. It's going to pre-fill the information for us. And if you look at here, that's our debugging URL, which is right now is undefined. Why is it undefined? It shouldn't be undefined. It should be this value. It should be this value, because that's the slug. And then if we query, let's say query this one, because this one is a bit shorter than the other ones, and that works. How about if I call it lesson series something blah blah blah, and just update it. So it looks like it just keeps running and running and running. So there's a bug here. So we're gonna, in this video, we managed to pull out this instance data and build this model window. The next video will try to see how we can save this data. Now the reason it's not working is we don't have update method. We haven't done update method yet, so we need to do something in this method, the update. There's nothing right now. So everything works, JavaScript works, script works, you know. Ajax request is trying to talk to this, but there's nothing here. That's why. So that's probably our next obvious step in the next video. So far, good job guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a good one.